This is M0JCQ stroke portable. I've had a few requests on YouTube to make a video about how you undertake a SOTA activation. So I thought I'd record a video just showing you kind of the equipment that I use and how I go about starting the operation, how I operate, etc, etc. So we're at a rather tame SOTA summit, probably the tamest one I know of actually. It's called Wendover Woods, and it's the SOTA reference is Golf Stroke Charlie Echo 005. It's a very quiet field this. You can see I'm set up right next to the trig point. It's a wide activation zone, so you could probably walk maybe about 2 kilometers that way and still be within the activation range. It's basically a very flat plateau up here. You can't really tell it's a summit because you can't see down into the into the valley there, but it certainly is. So I'll get set up and then we'll talk through how we get started. The next step is complete. The antenna is now erected, and we've got the dipole, inverted V dipole, strung up using this 10-meter fishing pole. I'll just take you through the dipole. It's pretty simple. It's a linked dipole, so it means it's got multiple sections connected using crocodile clips, and this allows me to move bands basically. So this one does it does 20 meters, 40 meters, and 60 meters. And there, I don't know if you can see it. They're not actually connected, well, at least they shouldn't be. No, they're not. There is a gap. It's not the best example. There should be a bit more of a gap than that between them, but basically they're unclipped at the moment. So I've got that connector, and then another one further up that you could just about see dangling down. That's also disconnected, and I've got that on both sides of the dipole, obviously. So at the moment it's all unclipped, so I've only got the top bits of wire in line, in circuit, and that's going to give me a 20-meter dipole effectively. And later on when I want to move bands, or if I find that 20 meters isn't suitable, it gives me that flexibility that I can go down to, you know, say 40 meters, see what's happening there, and say for example into G propagation isn't being supported today, I can then even drop down to 60 and make contact with amateurs around England. So it gives me flexibility, and that's pretty key to a SOTA antenna. You don't want to be locked to one frequency, especially now as we're approaching solar minimum. You really want to be able to have that flexibility to jump around. So I find these bands to be perfect for me. 20 meters and 40, lots of SOTA chasers on, and I'm a bit of a fan of 60 meters as well, and there's quite a few SOTA chasers on there as well. So that's a quick overview of the antenna. What else to talk about? Yeah, you can see the 4 guying ropes there connected to the pole. One other thing that I'd probably mention is if you're going to do a SOTA activation for the first time, make sure it's a calm day. Like today, it's beautiful, it's sunny, it's not too windy. It gives you time to set up, it gives you time to make those mistakes. Sometimes you go to a SOTA summit in winter, you know, a substantially higher one than this at least, and the conditions could be somewhat hellish. You don't really want to be finding out how your equipment works for the first time there. But yeah, so on to the last thing I'd probably mention is you've probably seen this ridiculously thin coax running down here. It's not RG58, it's RG174. So it's ultra lightweight, doesn't take a lot of power. It feels, you can actually feel the warmth when you're running say 50 watts. I wouldn't use anything over that with it. It literally feels warm to the touch. Normally I'm running QRP, so it doesn't really bother me, but the advantages of this is that it's lightweight, it doesn't catch the wind when it's very windy, and that's pretty much it. It's just very lightweight and thin. It's got a lot of advantages, but not for QRO. Anyway, next we'll get the station set up and we'll get on the air. We're now set up with the Elecraft KX3. Got everything working on 20 meters. Just need to tune it up, so we'll do that now. This my one's got the built-in ATU. Just tune that. There we go. And check the output power as well. Not sure what that noise is, but we'll turn that down to 10 watts. So the Elecraft now actually does, interestingly, up to 15 watts. A recent firmware update meant that you can actually crank it up to 15 now. But I tend to run it a bit lower anyway. Not too sure why I do that, but in the interest of power consumption and all of that good stuff. So we'll turn that back down. We've got the lithium ion polymer battery, also more popularly known as a LiFePO battery. I've done a video on what I use for power sources on SOTA summits and portable activations previously. I'll include a link to that in the description text. so you can look at that. I've also done, interestingly, a video just kind of unpacking all of my SOTA stuff that I take on a typical activation, which shows you everything I bring along. Here you see it all set up, so this is the kind of finished station, but yeah, I'll also include a link to that in the description text. One thing that I like to do, especially if I don't really know the summit that well, for this summit I've been here, I literally, I can't count how many times I've been up here, so I know all of this information off by heart anyway. But if I'm going to a new SOTA activation or a new SOTA summit, I like to write down the details, because when you're in the middle of a pile-up, you can sometimes forget some of this important stuff, and someone might ask you for, say, you know, the Worksall Britain Square or the trig point that you're based at, if you're in the UK at least. And of course up here we've got the SOTA reference and SOTA summit name as well. So yep, that's all there is to mention. We've tuned up, we're now listening to the QRP frequency. Sounds clear. You'll notice there's absolutely, well, hardly any noise at all. It occasionally flares up to S1, S2, but other than that it's pretty low. Interestingly, I wonder if we turn on the preamp whether that will go up. Yeah, okay. So S2 of noise with the occasional spike with the preamp on, but I mean, if you did that at home, it would be 5 and 9 of noise, right? So we'll turn that off. We don't need that on 20 meters. Cool. So what I'm going to do next is spot myself on the SOTA website, so sotawatch.org.uk, and that will, I'll give the SOTA chasers the chance to find me on this frequency. They'll know who's operating, they'll know the frequency, they'll know the mode, and it's basically like a DX cluster. So that's an effective way of getting quite a few callers quite quickly. So I'll do that next, and I'll try and film the results. Just a nifty little trick here. What I've done on the KX3 is just recorded a voice message or a recording in my voice calling CQ SOTA. What I'm going to do now is, well, first of all I'm going to check the frequency isn't in use. Is this frequency in use? Repeat, is this frequency in use? Over. Listen. Nothing came back, good. So what I'm going to do now is start calling CQ. This is to hold the frequency while I spot myself. Quite often you could be in the middle of a spot on a freezing cold summit, you think you found a clear frequency, then someone pipes up and calls CQ out of nowhere. So I like to hold the frequency while I'm spotting. I won't be able to show you the spot because it's all going to be done on my phone, which I'm using to record this video. But what I'll do is just hit message again and then keep this CQ message on repeat. You can't really hear it, the monitor volume is very low, but you can see the RF power output is going, so it's definitely calling CQ. And I'm going to spot myself now. Okay, I've spotted myself. I've turned up the monitor outputs as well, so you can hear the CQ call.
Charlie, Quebec, portable. Mike 0, Juliet, Charlie, Quebec, portable. CQ SOTA and standing by.
So we're waiting for the pile-up, hopefully, to return now. The spot will be going up onto the sotawatch.org website. All the chasers will be able to see it there, and they should flock to the frequency and start calling me in a bit. So I'm going to record that and see what that sounds like.
Light India 0, Romeo, Tango, Yankee.
Yes, Mike India 0, Romeo Tango Yankee. Thank you very much for the call, sir. I was surprised to hear a Mike India station on 20 meters. Thank you very much for the call. You're a very good signal. You're 5 and 9 to the SOTA summit of Wendover Woods. You might have the reference already, but if you don't, it's Golf Stroke Charlie Echo 005. Golf Stroke Charlie Echo 005. QSL?
Yes, good morning, James. My name is Anders Martin. Yeah, good to work in 20 English stations bad, so the propagation is bad. You're 5 and 7, nice to work in the summit, first one of the day. And I hope you get many more calls there, over. Kilo Sierra Delta Echo.
The station ending Delta Echo, go ahead.
Oscar Kilo 1, Sierra Delta Echo.
Sierra Delta Echo. Oscar Kilo 1, Sierra Delta Echo. Thank you very much for the call. I'll give you a signal report on the next over, but certainly very loud here. Oscar Kilo 1, Sierra Delta Echo from Mike 0, Juliet Charlie, Quebec Stroke Portable. So what was it?
Yes, hello James, thank you. You're 4x4, 44 James, over.
Yeah, QSL the 4 and 4, you're 5 and 5 with me here. 5 and 5 to the SOTA summit of Wendover Woods, QSL.
Yes, So thank you, 5573. Bye-bye.
Slow conditions on 20 today. Worked about 7 stations, 2 in Northern Ireland, 1 in the Czech Republic, France, Portugal, Germany and Italy. Nothing further than that. The skip seems to be very long and QSB very deep. I'm still calling. I'm about to move down to 40 metres though, I suspect. There's not too much happening on 20 today, so I'm going to move down to 40. Let's see what's happening there. Oh, the phone was far too near the rig there. Yeah, let's try a different band and see what happens. Okay, so I've just lowered the mast, as you can probably tell. This is the dipole here, and this is one of the links. So this is linking the 20 metre section, which is in yellow on the right hand side, to the 40 metre section with the white crocodile clip on. Just this little plastic spacer in between to keep the two separated while I'm operating, but that's it. Okay, all set up now on 40 metres. I've sent the spot to the SOTA website, so we'll see if anyone calls me back on this band, because you can see that I'm calling CQ now. It's just on repeat until someone responds, and I'll hit the push to talk and it'll allow me to return. I can try.
Go 4, Oscar Echo.
Yeah, Golf 4, Oscar Echo. Thank you very much for the call, sir. I'll give you an accurate signal report on the next over, but sounding very, very clear and very audible. I wasn't expecting to work any into G today, but thankfully I've been proved wrong. From the SOTA summit of Wendover Woods. The name this side is James, Juliet Alpha Mike Echo Sierra. James is the name from M0 JCQ stroke portable.
Mike 0, Juliet Charlie Quebec portable from Golf 4, Oscar Echo. Yeah, well, good morning, James, and you're 5 and 5 here, 555 in Scarborough, North Yorkshire, and my name is Nick. QSL?
73, so calling QRZ Summits on the air. QRZ SOTA, this is Mike 0, Juliet Charlie Quebec stroke portable.
Golf 0, Victor Whiskey Papa.
Golf 0, Victor Whiskey Papa. Golf 0, Victor Whiskey Papa. Yes, thank you very much for the call there. I'll give you a good signal report on the next over. I'm still surprised I'm hearing G stations. It's been a while since I managed to work G on 40 metres. It doesn't seem to be too good for NVIS propagation recently, but thank you very much for the call, sir. I'll pass it back to you from the SOTA Summit. This is Mike 0, Juliet Charlie Quebec stroke portable.
Mike 0, Juliet Charlie Quebec portable. Golf 0, Victoria Whiskey Papa. You're 5 by 7, James, 5-7, sometimes peak in the night. And the WAB here is Sugar Echo 55 here, and the name is Terry. Back to you then, James, from Golf 0, Victoria Whiskey Papa.
So I've been operating now on 40 metres for I guess about half an hour. Probably works about 20 or so stations. Quite a lot happening, quite a few people calling in, but very weak conditions here. Very weak conditions indeed. It's very up and down. There's a lot of QSB, and a lot of weak signals. Working quite a few G stations, but what you might have noticed is A, I've got the rig covered, and B, the iPad isn't on. So today it's very sunny, as you've probably been able to tell, and yeah, it's very, very warm. So it's about 30 degrees, which is quite unusual for England in September. First of all, the iPad overheated, which meant that I couldn't use it and I couldn't continue logging. And of course that happened during a pile-up. So not the most convenient. So I've been down that path before. So normally what I do, I've got 2 backups. I can either start logging on my phone, which is the preference, or I can actually log on paper if worse comes to worse. But I've been logging on my phone, and then after that, you may also notice that I've now got the rig covered. The rig was unfortunately in the sunlight a bit before, and it must have got a bit too hot because it complained about the temperature and then turned itself off. So I'm going to let it cool down a bit. It's quite warm to the touch, especially the heat sink on the back there. So I'm just going to let it cool down a bit. I'm probably going to change bands and move down to 60 metres. Probably a good time to do that, and see if I could work any other G stations. But yeah, I thought that might be interesting just to see some of the challenges that the SOTA activators face on a summit. Even despite glorious sunny conditions, there's still stuff that can go wrong. So I've moved down to 60 metres. I've just finished operating actually on this band. So quite a few contacts, about 11 or so contacts come through, all into G, one Dutch station as well. Quite a lot of noise up here today on 60 metres. A lot of static crashes, as you can hear. Normally it's pretty quiet, but yeah, not ideal conditions. But I'm going to put out a few more calls before I pack up. In total, across 3 bands, I've worked about 36 stations across 20 metres, 40 and 60. So I'm quite pleased with that. Quite a number of stations, especially considering it's poor band conditions as well. Highlights were probably 2 summit-to-summit stations on a mountain over in Switzerland, Hotel Bravo 9. I'm just going to turn that down. That's a bit distracting. Let's keep calling, see if we can get anyone else. But I'm about to pack up now. I've run out of time basically. But hopefully that was useful in showing how to go about a SOTA activation and what you can potentially work. We'll wait for this to roll out. Is anyone going to call? No, I think I've run the pile up dry. At this point I normally call it a day and call it quits and go home. Ready to leave the summit now, all packed up, and as you can see the station packs all into that bag. It's all of my HF set up in there, nothing left. Just need to walk back to the car now. So that's it, that's the SOTA activation done and dusted. Any questions, just let me know in the comments and I'll get back to you. 73s from M0 JCQ/Portable.